Welcome to day 3 of the Portfolio Manager Career Track. We are now down to the last session of the Philippine Junior Finance and Investment Summit. The future starts now. And the last session also for the Portfolio Manager Career Track. What better way to wrap up the career track by showing to all of you what a day of a portfolio manager looks like. To culminate the journey for your chosen role, the last breakout session will provide a peek into a portfolio manager's workday. Ms. Alessandra Araullo Gonzalez, CFA, will share how she performs her responsibilities as a portfolio manager. As the head for ATR Asset Management or ATRAM's multi-asset strategies, Ms. Araullo Gonzalez oversees portfolio design and product engineering, asset allocation, manager and fund selection, and risk management for the firm's discretionary multi-asset mandates. She has over 13 years of experience in the finance industry, about 11 years of which has been with ATRAM. A trained scientist, she earned her bachelor's and master's degree in physics at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Her interest in complex systems led her to a career in finance during the onset of the global financial crisis in 2008. She got her foot in the industry as a risk and compliance manager for the trust department of one of the top local universal banks in the country. She is a CFA charter holder and a member of the Fund Managers Association of the Philippines. Let's all give a virtual round of applause for our final speaker, Ms. Alessandra Araullo Gonzalez, CFA. Hey, Sandra. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for
So
having
how
me.
always a pleasure to have you for our CFA events. So, how was your last day of the trading week?
A bit relaxed, I would say. I mean, we finished early today. Just wrapping up the week with huddle with my team, planning for next week, anticipating things that we want to do for next week, and kind of just brainstorming and flagging the things that should be in our radar.
How have the markets been this week for you guys?
Um, so I'm in charge of multi-asset strategies, no? Markets, when you talk about markets, it's our local market, Philippine equity, Philippine fixed income, as well as all the other global markets. So there's always something happening. Sometimes you have a lot of balls in the air, but I guess in a nutshell, finally the local markets, or at least the Philippine equity market, of which a lot of our portfolios have a bias towards, finally showing signs of life, no? So we're pleased about that.
And it's also nice to have that that uplifting feeling that a part of your portfolio is finally showing some signs of growth, right? But given that we're talking about the portfolio manager track and what your typical workday is, it today might not be your typical workday, but do indulge us and provide us a glimpse into your normal workday as a portfolio manager.
Actually, this is typical. The details may be a little different, but it's typical in the sense that it's never fixed, really. Part of it, a big part of it, is obviously looking at the portfolios, the strategies, making sure we're aligned, fighting fires, coordinating with my team, and um, you know, kind of, what's the word? Uh, or digesting what happened in the past few days and flagging certain things that would be important for how we manage performance and also risk for our portfolios. But at the same time, I get pulled in many directions, and I just, in the beginning, I hated it. I just wanted to manage a portfolio, but that's not how it works. There's many layers to it. There are different strategies, and at the end of the day, it's a service that we're providing our clients. So I could have insisted earlier in my career that I just want to manage portfolios, very, very functionally, very specific to that. But in the age of competing with computers and technology, anyway, it's actually the human component of being a portfolio manager that sets I mean, that I feel sets me apart. So in a typical day, what's typical is there are a lot of things that come up, even if we try our best to anticipate what they might be. There's a lot of human interaction with our clients as well. There is, much as I would like to be, not bothered and to be left alone to figure out how to make portfolios achieve objectives, there still is a lot of hand-holding with clients whenever things aren't panning out the way we expect them to. So also talking to different parts of the organization on the business and all of those things, and entertaining or accommodating such requests such as today, where it's an opportunity to reach out to young people in this case. On other occasions, it's a chance to reach out to women and investing, etc., etc. So it's part and parcel, and I've gotten
Okay,
used to it.
so you mentioned that you normally start your day with a huddle. Is that something that happens? And what happens in this huddle with your team?
So it's almost like a practice that we have where we would come together in the morning, and the expectation is just that everybody's done their or everybody has done their job in terms of getting themselves updated about what happened overnight in the markets, because markets never really close down. I mean, it closes here, it's open in the other side of the world, and we may be sleeping and can't really do anything, but the next day it's a continuous thing. So every member of the investments team, or particularly my group, there is an expectation of knowing what happened. It takes a while to kind of be able to assimilate everything and kind of identifying what's important and what's noise, but just putting that pressure on na dapat alam nyo kung nangyayari, gives our team members that practice, or it sharpens the saw, so to speak. And sometimes when we get to a certain standard or level already, it becomes collaborative, because I might, even the most senior investment managers can miss out on details or a few things, and when you have a team that's covering their bases and is able to contribute to ideas, then it makes it a well-oiled machine, diba? When we're brainstorming. So that's the start. In the beginning, we take turns, or my team takes turns in kind of consolidating all of the news that happened. And at the beginning, it's almost reportorial, no? But as the analysts get used to it, then the insights start to creep into that huddle. They're welcome to share their insights. So for example, just overnight, when we heard news about the worsening situation in Germany, for example, with regards to COVID, and there's this talk of a fourth wave, etc., etc. That's kind of new, in the sense that it wasn't part of the things that we were watching the day before. So there's that news, and then there's that, what's the implication of that to our outlook, our strategies, our positioning. So we kind of build on that and layer around it, and kind of identify whether, okay, is there a sense of urgency to do something right away? Do we watch this? What other information do we need? What other are we kind of zero in on what the investment thesis is that will direct model portfolios for our clients? So it's a lot of it's a lot of interaction, I would say. At this point, in the beginning, it's a lot of staring at spreadsheets and administrative work. Kasi it's one thing to manage a portfolio where it's just one portfolio or one strategy, and hedge funds maybe do that, but it's like, that's it. If you screw up, you're done for. That's one aspect to it. The other thing is, and in most investment or asset management houses, it's a portfolio of portfolios. So to administer across hundreds of clients and making sure that, as part of our practice in the CFA, diba, ethics, no? So it always has to be beneficial to the client and fair dealing. So to expand or to be able to develop that bandwidth for fair administration, etc., etc. In the beginning, ano yan, you're really gonna be pupukpukin ka talaga dyan, no? But later on, like at this point, for myself, it's really strategic. We're talking about strategic things, and it's a lot of mentoring actually for our team members. Like we're developing. So I like to develop portfolio managers from the ground up with inside, no? I don't know. It's just a part of also Atram's blueprint of growth. So there are a lot of practices that we built on our own, and it's very how I would say specific, no? It's the skill sets are quite specific, and because we innovate a lot of it is in-house, so it helps to kind of go around and be able to build the skill sets within the organization. So right now, it's dumadami yung accounts, dumadami yung strategies. We really need to develop more portfolio managers. So I spend a lot of time also in guiding our analysts and our portfolio managers. Meaning to say, for example, depende. If analyst talagang konting ano yan, or hindi naman tutok, pero we really pay attention. Pinagtutulungan namin ng mga mas senior na members of the team. But those that are in portfolio management or portfolio decision-making positions, it's very tactical. So I kind of leave them enough rope to hang themselves with, so to speak, but still be kind of there as a safety net for in terms of strategic and longer term positioning for portfolios. You really need to make mistakes also to learn. So
Right, diba? Do you have a ritual in the like before and after work, or do you have a routine wherein it helps you keep abreast with like what's happening in the market and being able to see like what you need to see to manage the portfolio?
Personally, I mean, it's a very personal thing, diba? Some people really need a routine, even just to fall asleep, they need a routine. I'm more flexible. I thrive better when I don't feel constrained and there is room to be creative. And even in my routine, I am flexible in that, no? But there are elements or there are principles that are a must. So number one, health and wellness. I make sure I am fit physically so that mentally I am also, or I mean, my physical fitness is lends itself to mental acuity and clarity. I make sure I get enough sleep. I'm rested. I turn off when on weekends I have a life outside of my job. I turn off, but I don't. If that makes any sense. Meaning to say, because I love what I do and it's natural. I don't like, it's not I'm not belabored to read about what happened overnight. It's automatic. And whether it's a work day or not, I kind of have a sense of what's going on. And then I just kind of, minsan, you play around a little bit. Sometimes you go really, really close and look at the details. Sometimes you take a step back and watch everything else that's going on. So in not having a set routine, it allows me to kind of be more, to cover more ground, to focus on things that I need to focus on, give attention to. So, but those principles, no, getting enough sleep, being fit physically, being well nourished. I mean, they sound motherhood, pero they really work for me. And I think, I mean, a lot of people, they can't argue on the merits of those things.
I mean, if you think about it, when you look at the portfolio manager, you need to have that discipline. You're handling a lot of the clients' portfolios and making sure that you're making the right decisions. So there is some merit, and there's a lot of merit actually for having a good mental state and having a good physical state and being healthy, right? Maybe share like what do you normally do to keep fit and to keep mentally sane?
Well, I'd like to add that a lot of the life, let's be philosophical for a bit. Life, everything that life throws at you, you learn from that. And what I try to do is I take those experiences and I bring it to my professional space. Now, for example, as you mentioned, the biggest and the most fascinating aspect of investing sa totoo lang, behavioral for me it's the behavioral aspect of it, because you can be right about all of your analysis and mental accounting, everything, but there is a piece of it that is so um uh linked to human behavior. That's who knows, and to be able to roll with that and kind of accept that you don't know, no, the known unknowns is the best we have to work with. um yung experiences ko outside of the professional, in my interpersonal relationship, in my relationship with my kids, family, friends, no, kumbaga yung emotional regulation na kailangan kong gawin outside of work na nadadala ko sa trabaho, and it helps me not be emotional when I'm making investment decisions. Pero it's so hard, kasi it's one thing if it's one thing if it's your own money. Actually, I think a lot of portfolio managers don't even manage their own money, really. um I don't manage my personal portfolio the way I manage our discretionary portfolios, because I have different objectives for now. But that is to say that aside from the pressure or the need or the expectation to, or aside from the pressure to meet expectations around investment outcomes, right? um there is the possibility that you miss it. For example, this year, at the beginning of the year, we were so constructive, Philippine markets. But for the most part, we were below. We were underwater, right? So even that, no, hindi naman nagbago yung view. We're still, we still have these long-term views about Philippine macro, blah blah blah. Pero for the first 6-8 months, it's just negative. Both Philippine equities, Philippine fixed income. So you're already kind of annoyed. Although we can't do anything, we can't control it, but we're also
Right, right.
disappointed that we're not exactly getting those outcomes that we were expecting. And then there's the second layer of talking to clients and explaining to them why that's the case, no. And sometimes, or at least in our market, even if we have relationship managers that do that client facing function, pagka negative yung returns ng portfolio, palaging portfolio manager yung hinahatak. Kasi I get it, no? There's this certain they're not just they're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, no? And it really our relationship managers need that support as well. So, it's it's painful, but it's part of the job. And it's even kind of being able to compartmentalize between the things that are disappointing and not letting it spill over to your personal life is a skill in itself, no? So you can't control these things, or you can't foresee them, so you just roll with it. This is how I've been doing it so far.
And that's also nice to hear, that, not everything will go your way as a portfolio manager, and you still have to deal with clients and really talk to them about your portfolio. And you said something about the known unknowns and not really being able to predict the future. I think if you're a portfolio manager, people expect you already to know your
to do.
stuff and really know the future and make the right decisions. But what the question here is, what happens or how do you deal with not being able to make the right decisions and living with having to tell your clients about these, and how do you deal with the clients themselves?
Mm-mm. So okay, of course, basics, the competency needs to be there. You need to have the technical skills, no, and covered na yan lahat ng CFA. Totoo lang. It's getting those technical skills and bringing it to practice. So to your question, we never, part of our ethics is we can never guarantee returns, no? And it's frustrating because we're competing with other service providers that are not necessarily fiduciary or are just, some sort of scheme, Ponzi scheme or whatever, taking investments na walang ethics. And sometimes it's still investable funds. So and when they have negative experiences there, it affects even the professional investment management industry. How we manage it is we really pin it down to what our views are. We are given that leeway to, because it's discretionary, it's based on our views. So we come up with our read of the situation, our views, what we think the risk factors are, and what the implications are. So we say it at the onset. And if we're wrong, there is we're diversified enough such that the negative repercussion on the portfolio is within the appetite or the ability of the client to assume. That said, some clients can be really unrealistic when they want what do you call this?
When they're
Uh,
looking for returns, diba?
when they have a floor at zero, no, it's not symmetrical. It's talagang one-sided lang. So medyo tricky. It's tricky, but we kind of we inuunahan natin, no. We don't wait for the client to ask why that's the case. It's a business of trust, no. We're not always going to be right. That's not what we're saying, but we are professionals and we do the due diligence that you otherwise wouldn't have time to do because you're doing other things. You have your own other concerns, you have your own profession and job. So from an investment standpoint, whether it's for retirement or for whatever, some objectives, some wallet that's education or kung ano man, as long as naiintindihan namin what the purpose of this is. Calendar year returns are at the beginning, you really just have to you have to manage clients' expectations and build a track record. That's the reality. And it gets easier when you have those things. When you're starting out, that's when even you don't have that confidence dahil sa you're just building your skill set. So it gets better over time.
Run us through you've had a lot of experience managing portfolios. Run us through like one of your most proudest calls in managing the portfolio. Like you called it right and the clients were happy. Do you have an instance of that?
Siguro nung back in March 2020, no, when the pandemic started, when we had our first lockdown and it was so uncertain. The decision back then was to go to our minimum risk exposures. And that's hard. That was a hard decision to make because bumagsak na yung market eh. So, you might have this bias for loss aversion. But the reality is we had no clue what was going to happen in the next week. And it's going to be very there's going to be a lot of confusion, dislocation, and we have to we have to put our money where our mouth is. We tell our clients, no, we're active managers. If something happens, we can act quickly. So we just stayed true to that promise. And even if I would say we managed it well because we were not uninvested when the markets were recovering. We were able to slowly scale back in. So all in all, the investment journey was smoother for the client. And kasi it's a double-edged sword, no? If you're uninvested, you can miss the run-up also, and vice versa. If it's kung nasusunog na yung building and you're the last one out, no, you can really suffer third-degree burns, and it's gonna take a while before you can recover, diba? Especially with investing, it's asymmetric. If you lose 50% of your asset or your portfolio value, you'll need to double it just to get back to your starting point. That's hard to do. So yeah, I would say in the most recent more recent experience, that's something and it's something we're able to do across all of our portfolios and strategies. So that's also testament to the efficiency of the team. No, it's not just one person who is managing a portfolio. It's a whole team looking at all of the moving parts.
You talk about having a team, and you have your team of analysts with you, right? So walk us through, like, what are the things that you guys talk about in the team other than the mentoring? Like, what do you guys talk about in the team on a normal day, and what drives the decisions you make on the portfolio?
So like I talk about the team now, but when I was starting out, I was the team. I was like the one-man team being mentored by Dino Basas, who was actually a fixed income guy, and there was a lot of collaboration in terms of charting a path towards multi-asset investing. It's pretty new back then. So anyway, what does when I talk about my team over the years, it's more of my capacity to handle the workload is getting super stretched. I need another person to help me look at you take parts of yourself and you kind of build up, and it's a matter of scaling, transferring knowledge and training people to, and business continuity rin. But in terms of the dynamics today, how do we work? We're still quite small. How many are we? I think we're right now 5 in the team, and there are people in charge of the day-to-day administration dealing. So it's baliwala even if you have the best ideas but you're not able to execute. So we have guys who are just focused on that execution part. We have analysts who look at the funds that we are invested in, and listening to what's going on in terms of news flow, and digesting it and understanding what it means for our investment funds. We have idea generation, whereby there's this macro development. Let's say, for example, the Fed starts reducing their asset purchases and you have inflation coming in. So are we positioned for this scenario of maybe stagflation, maybe the risk of stagflation? So today we're not, but the research or fund analysts would kind of look at, come up with ideas on how we can pivot a little bit and fine tune our risk exposure, and maybe reduce a little bit on cyclicality, since the growth run up had been quite steep already and we might see a little bit of a pullback, things like that. And then it's just like, I guess, okay, our CIO Philip Hagedorn loves using sailing as an analogy, no? Sailing. I don't sail, but I kind of can imagine, because there is the boat that you're trying to steer, it can be calm waters, smooth sailing. It can be no wind and there's nowhere to go. So the roles of the different crewmates will be different in that period of time. It might be a storm. So in a way, hindi defined hindi well defined kung ano yung function mo talaga. I mean, there's always something that can be done, and parang we're very flexible. I mean, I guess it extends my working style extends to the rest of the team, where I welcome new team members who are hungry and who just want to learn, and kasi ang dami mo talagang opportunity for learning you can self-direct what you want to focus on. In fact, if you want to be talagang functionally just looking at portfolios, that's something at this point within Atram. We're already able to find people for that function, kasi nga the business side is different, the relationship side, the process side, we're kind of growing like that. So it's getting more and more complex, I would say. But at the heart of it, functionally, I am a portfolio manager, and at the end of the day, am I delivering to my clients consistently across, hindi lang sa isang kliyente? Am I consistently able to deliver across our clients the outcomes that they have signed up on, and with the constraints that they were explicit about when we were coming up with the investment mandate? So that's the overarching objective of portfolio management. It's not just, I mean, the basics are return and risk, basic. Pero parang there's so many more layers to that to be able to deliver that, and you have to mind all of those other things that are contributory to that outcome. And it's very complex, but it's also never boring.
Let's talk about risk management. You mentioned that you have to be able to manage the risks as much as managing the returns. How do you do that? In your day to day of managing portfolios.
Okay, we have a separate risk management team, no? So organizationally, there is that middle office that really, actually, that's where I started my career in. I was a compliance and risk manager for a trust investing group of a local bank. And I remember kind of so para akong police, no? Pinupolice ko yung mga portfolio managers na, hey, you're not supposed, or hey, you're breaching this, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm frustrated because parang, come on, guys, we're lagging behind the benchmark. What are we doing? We're not ganyan. So it was a good entryway, I would say, to the front, to the portfolio management side, because you appreciate the risk side. And it's more holistic, no? Kasi, I mean, returns are, you can put a bet on, I don't know, whatever, crypto today and make 10% tomorrow. But what about that's just the tip of the iceberg. What about all of the risks that you're assuming? The concentration risk, the event risk, the ano pa. So from a risk management standpoint, we make sure that all of our strategies are well diversified, very precise. We try to be as precise as we can be in terms of what this strategy is supposed to deliver. We look at the numbers. If it's an equity strategy and you're still, even if it's like, for example, an SDG fund, no, Sustainable Development Goals, or an ESG fund, at the end of it, the benchmark is still going to be the broad market. So we try to limit the elbow room that we allow for a particular product, for example, such that we're not taking too much risk, or we're not, when the market is down 3%, we're not down 10%, for example, because that's not the design of the product. So that's also another aspect of being a portfolio manager. It's it's really being able to engineer. Para kaming we're like the manufacturing arm of a firm, no? We put product, or we hear what the demand is from the client side, what our clients looking for. If it's an inflationary environment, there's a lot of interest in kind of inflation linked strategy. So we kind of figure out how we can deliver that. And if we can't, we give alternatives and find ways, no? Find solutions for those that don't have solutions yet.
So we're nearing the time of the close. So we want to open this to our audience. Maybe call on Joshua to moderate our participants' questions so that we could have insight from our younger participants, especially because I've been asking questions coming from the industry. It's nice to always see it from the perspective of people who are still trying to enter this space. So Joshua, take it away. So while Joshua has some technical difficulties,
Okay, hello.
he's there. You go there.
Okay, hello
Hello,
everyone.
Joshua.
So I'll be your student moderator for today. I'm Joshua Tatlonghari from UST. So the discussion will go as follows. So I will ask Mom a questions from the list. Then I will, from time to time, I will get questions from the audience. So for the first question po, I noticed that your background is from Master of Physics. So what made you decide to shift from hard sciences to finance, and what competitive edge that you gain from that degree po?
Okay, very technical, no? As you said, it's a hard science. So it's sort of back in college, I was really interested in the sciences, and I was encouraged by my parents to, it was either physics or engineering, but in UP, parang the style of teaching in the sciences were more, parang less testosterone laden. Or versus engineering. My dad's an engineer kasi. Sa engineering, there's so many students there, and it's all about kind of jumping through hoops, no? And the training itself is sometimes lacking. So I was encouraged to take up physics, and I remember the logic of a mentor or somebody who I looked up to. Sabi niya, might as well aralin mo for college yung mga bagay na mahihirapan kang i-self-study. Because everything else that you have interest in, pwede mong pag-aralan after you've gained the skills of, yung skill set of studying, of learning. I remember I wanted to be, I was interested in economics, but somebody told me na madali lang yan. Hindi mo madali. It's not madali, but you can teach yourself. You can read materials. So the guiding principle was do something that was just interesting for me, na ma-engage ko, ma-motivate ako. So in fact, the working in finance wasn't even in my radar. I thought I was going to be a researcher doing hard sciences. Doing modeling, computational modeling. But that was when I graduated. It was I remember inflation was like 12% back in 2006 or 7, before the GFC, that we had this rice shortage. So I was teaching as I was studying, and I remember my teacher's salary wasn't even enough to pay for gas, and I was still living with my parents, so I felt bad. Iniisip ko, paano ako magsusurvive nito sa mundo, no? I need to be self-sufficient, and I just started asking questions like, okay, if I have money in the bank, and ano ba tong interest na to? 0.5%. Tapos your inflation, or even in the headlines, ano ba ibig sabihin ng inflation? And then kind of connecting the two ideas, and parang, hey, if I keep my money in the bank, then if inflation continues at this rate for X years, wala na value yung pera ko. So anong gagawin ko? So nagtanong-tanong ako. A friend happened to be her mom happened to be a financial advisor selling insurance. So I kind of, that was the entryway. I was my interest was so peaked when she was talking about, so pinapapili niya ako kung ano yung magiging underlying ng VUL ko, di ba? Fixed income or equity. I had no clue what these were. So as tanong-tanong, okay, balanced fund, no? Who decides how much goes to equity or fixed income? That was the most basic question. And I just remember her telling me, it's the portfolio manager that decides that na. So I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. That sounds like something I want to do. So, ganon. I mean, and it wasn't a straight line. I definitely credit I stumbled on the CFA program. Back in my time, if you had a science degree or math degree, it wasn't obvious for the employers to take you on and to, banking or whatever, these kinds of roles. Palaging naghahanap ng economics, accounting, finance, which I didn't have. So I thought to myself, if I studied on my own, how am I going to do it? That's when I stumbled upon the CFA program. And I remember wala akong pambayad nung tuition eh. So, or nung course, for the course. So I applied for the scholarship. And it happened that the head of the scholarship committee then, Mr. Mike Garcia, is the trust officer for Union Bank. And I did get the scholarship because I wasn't exactly destitute, but I did get a job, and because of my background in the sciences and the training that I have in terms of the quant background, since nag-uumpisa na yung global financial crisis and risk management was all the rage, I was given an opportunity. So that's how I kind of found my way through that career path.
Okay po, ma'am. I think we have a question from the audience. You mentioned that a big part of the job is looking at Excel sheets. What kind of data set do you frequently look at?
Bloomberg, I mean, any and all. Actually, nowadays, it's all about, the new or the skill set that's really, I should say, in demand is the ability for data management or big data manipulation, processing, and all of that. Still quite new. On our own, there are a lot of we can leverage on a lot of the tools that are already available. So for example, Bloomberg, we just extract data. Spreadsheets are good enough, pero as things continue to evolve, we reach limits, no? So maybe in the next even just 3 years, even us, we're trying to do away with Excel spreadsheets kasi it's very manual. Eh. That's so it's like looking at what is what the problem is at present and looking at what tools are available to fix it. When I was starting, what was available was Excel. No, there's a little bit of if you're on Bloomberg, there is a native coding language within Bloomberg. I had some background, so it was intuitive for me to learn and be able to use that as a tool. So that's, I would say, it's hard to parang be specific about the skill set, no? Okay, sure, Excel. Pero I would be more broad and say it's the ability to learn a language or a tool or a way of doing things that's going to solve the problem at hand, no? So that's how I would put it for anybody or for young people wanting to get their foot in the door.
Okay. My next question relates to the future of portfolio manager. Considering there's a shift to financial technology, are there any trends within the industry to replace the function of portfolio manager with an AI?
Yes. Short answer, yes. No, that's why I'm glad that I wasn't stubborn. I wasn't too stubborn to not allow or to not let myself learn from the challenges that were coming up that weren't necessarily portfolio management function specific, but a little bit more business management or uh, soft skills. Yun yan, relating with clients, etc. Connecting things, So at the end of it, these new technologies still need to be implemented. And somebody, or at least me personally, I feel I'm in a good spot because naiintindihan ko yung function that they're supposed to enhance or to make efficient, but it also requires implementation. And my skill set have evolved so that I know where the gaps are, where the weaknesses are, where the competitive advantage is, And all of these things I just learned from the job. It's not like, I study, I read stuff, but I don't have, aside from CFA, I didn't really have any other formal MBA training or what have you. It's really all in the job. And 'di ba, libre kasi natututo ako habang I'm learning from from our bosses, contemporaries, peers, counterparts. That's it.
Okay pa. I think we have a room for one more question. So, if you were to hire a new junior portfolio manager in your team, what will be the most critical quality you think he or she should possess?
Critical quality. Imagination. Imagination and creativity. That it goes without saying na the diligence needs to be there. There needs to be some proven it's proven na there is competency, pero maraming competent na tao at the end of it, you have to, the softer skills, the stuff that machines can't do is where the advantage lies. And if you're flexible, you're competitive, kasama na rin yun. Pero maybe I take those things for granted, but it goes without saying, you have to be tenacious, competitive, resilient, all of these things, knowledgeable, disciplined. But almost given na yan I'm looking for that extra of being ambitious and hungry and willing to learn. And actually, I enjoy working with people from different backgrounds kasi it also diversifies the sources of ideas and it enhances our ability to problem solve. So I guess actually, for a junior portfolio manager, you won't be a junior portfolio manager unless you know how, in Atrama, in my team, you're not going to be a portfolio manager until you know how to administer across the hundreds of portfolios that we intend to grow to 1,000. And we have to make cutoffs. We have to, know the flow, the workflow from dealing to settlement to getting the cash, deploying it, etc. All of those moving parts are just the first step. And then by the time you have enough experience, which I would say 5 years, that's the time when it's realistic to really do portfolio management function realistically.
Thank you po, Ms. Sandra. That was a fruitful discussion. Unfortunately, we have no further time for more questions. So back to you, DJ.
Thank you, Joshua. Joshua here is a third-year financial management student at the University of Santo Tomas. So, like all our participants, I hope you guys are able to really see the benefits of being a portfolio manager, how a normal portfolio manager acts. And I hope this, talk is able to provide you better insights on how a portfolio manager works. Sandra, any last words to our participants?
Yeah, I mean, it's I love my job. I'm glad that na nagpursige ako, no? Because it's very fulfilling, and for me it works well with the other aspects of my life, it's um and I enjoy what I'm doing. Pero before I got here, there's a lot of um ano ba, hindi man sacrifice, pero a lot of hard work. It involves a lot of hard work and determination. So, as long as you have a vision for what you want to be doing professionally, then just stick with it. Don't be disheartened if it seemed like um, it's so difficult to penetrate, because if I was able to penetrate it back then, all the more the industry is growing, and there's a lot of room for a lot of talented and hardworking individuals to do portfolio management.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Joshua. As our token of appreciation, we're going to present you e-certificates from the CFA Society. All right. So the CFA Society Philippines presents the certificate of recognition to Ms. Alessandra Araullo Gonzalez, CFA, for her valuable contribution as speaker for the talk of On the Job Portfolio Managers Day at the Philippine Junior Finance and Investment Summit 2021. The future starts now. Given this 12th day of November 2021, signed by Dr. Robert Ramos, CFA Kaya CIPM, the president of the CFA Society Philippines. And we would also like to recognize Mr. Joshua Tatlonghari for being the student moderator for this topic of On-the-Job Portfolio Managers Day, given this 12th day of November, signed by Dr. Rob Ramos, president of the CFA. Thank you, Sandra, and thank you,
Thank
Joshua.
you.
Let's use
Thank you
this
po.
opportunity for a photo op. So everyone, please turn on your videos and smile for the cameras. Our back end will say if how many pages we're already done with. Smile.
Okay, just smile. Okay, 3, 2, 1 for the panel 1. The second panel in 3, 2, 1. Okay, there you go, Sir DJ.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Miss Sandra, for letting us take a peek on what a day of a portfolio manager looks like. Please keep safe and God bless. The winner of the trivia quiz. Let's show who won the trivia quiz. Oh, so the trivia quiz winners are Josh Ron Vicente and Mon Gabriel Lagustan. Please send us a message through our PJFIS Facebook page for instructions on how to be able to redeem your call-funded certificate prize. And guys, don't forget to complete the evaluation form for today. Remember that the completed evaluation form is part of the requirement to get your PJFIS 2021 certificate. We'll see you again tomorrow for the last day of PJFIS 2021. The future starts now. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors and partners. Our platinum sponsor is MSCI Philippines. Our gold sponsors are AP Securities Incorporated and Call Financial Group Incorporated. Our silver sponsors are Atram Trust Corporation, which Sandra comes from, and myself included, DBP Daiwa Capital Markets Philippines, and Papa Securities Corporation. Our media partners are Business World and Business Mirror. Our event partners, Bureau of the Treasury, the Philippine Stock Exchange, and the Securities and Exchange Commission. Wow, we're now done with the portfolio manager track. One more day to go for everyone who's participating. I hope that you all got valuable insights and have a good afternoon. Thanks, Sandra. Thanks, Joshua. And thank you, everyone.